There's something most men misunderstand completely. When a woman says, "I'm fine," it rarely means she's fine. In fact, psychology tells us that emotional states are often revealed more through behavior than through words. And the word fine is one of the most misleading emotional signals in relationships. Because sometimes "I'm fine" doesn't mean distance. It means she's trying to hide emotional attachment she doesn't fully understand yet. And here's the uncomfortable question most men never ask themselves. What if she's already emotionally attached, but you're just not seeing the signs? In this video, you're going to understand the 6 silent behaviors that reveal emotional attachment even when a woman is saying the exact opposite. Not guesses, not assumptions, but subtle psychological patterns backed by emotional attachment theory, behavioral psychology, and real-world relationship dynamics. Once you understand these signs, you'll stop misreading emotional distance and start recognizing emotional depth that is hidden in plain sight. And more importantly, you'll learn how attachment actually shows up before words ever catch up to feelings. Let's go deep. There's a pattern many men miss completely. She doesn't text first, but she never fully disappears either. She reacts to your stories, replies with short messages, or stays loosely present in your digital space. On the surface, it looks like disinterest, but psychologically, this is called low-risk proximity seeking. When someone is emotionally attached but not ready to express it openly, they create minimal contact to stay connected without vulnerability. It's a protective behavior. Practical insight: if she consistently stays in your orbit without initiating deeper conversations, she's not detached. She's regulating emotional exposure. And this is where most men misread her completely. But that's only the surface layer, because the next sign is even more revealing. You ask her how she feels, and she says, "I'm fine." But 2 hours later, or sometimes even days later, she brings up something emotional indirectly. This delay is not randomness. It's emotional processing. In psychology, this aligns with delayed emotional disclosure. When someone suppresses immediate vulnerability, but cannot fully detach from the emotion itself. So instead of expressing feelings in real time, she processes internally and releases them later in fragments. Real life example: she brushes something off in the moment, but later sends a random message like, "Never mind, I was just thinking about what you said earlier." That's not confusion. That's emotional attachment breaking through resistance. And now let's go even deeper, because behavior in physical space tells an even clearer story. You casually mention something once: your favorite food, a stressful day, a small childhood story. Weeks later, she brings it up naturally in conversation. This isn't just being nice, it's selective emotional encoding. When someone is emotionally invested, their brain prioritizes memory formation around that person. Neuroscience shows that emotionally significant connections enhance recall of small details. In simple terms, attention follows attachment. If she remembers the things you forgot you even said, it means her mind is still organizing you as emotionally important information. And here's the shift most men miss. People don't store irrelevant details about people they don't care about. But attachment doesn't just live in memory. It shows up in behavior during silence too. You're calm, she becomes calm. You're slightly distant, she becomes slightly colder. You show warmth, she softens again. This is not coincidence, it's emotional mirroring. Psychologically, mirroring is a subconscious bonding mechanism linked to emotional synchronization. It's how humans build connection without words. But here's the key insight: mirroring intensifies when emotional attachment is present but unspoken. She may still say, "I'm fine," but her emotional system is already responding to yours in real time. That means her feelings are not expressed verbally yet. They are expressed behaviorally. And if you've ever felt like her mood changes based on you, You've already experienced this sign. But there's a deeper one coming next. And this is where emotional attachment becomes undeniable. She doesn't directly express feelings, but she finds subtle excuses to stay connected. Asking small questions, sharing irrelevant updates, reacting to old conversations. On the surface, it looks casual, but psychologically, this is called connection maintenance behavior. When emotional attachment exists but direct expression feels unsafe, people create indirect pathways to stay involved in someone's life. It's not about the content of the message, it's about maintaining emotional presence. Real life example. She texts you something like, "I just saw this and thought of you," even when there's no real reason to reach out. That thought of you moment is the key. Because emotional attachment always looks for continuity, even in small fragments. But now let's challenge everything you think you know. Here's something most men completely get wrong. A woman who is emotionally detached is often very consistent, predictable, neutral. But a woman who is emotionally attached but hiding it, she becomes inconsistent, subtle, and emotionally responsive in waves. And here's the question you should really be asking yourself. Is her "I'm fine" actually calmness? Or is it emotional control? Because emotional control is not the absence of feeling, it's the management of feeling. And that changes everything. Back to the final and most important sign. This is where attachment becomes undeniable. When you're around, she acts normal. But when you withdraw slightly, she reacts subtly but noticeably. Slower replies, shorter tone, slight emotional distance or curiosity returning. This is called emotional baseline disruption. In simple terms, your absence creates more emotional activity in her than your presence does. Why? Because attachment is most visible when stability is interrupted. If someone is emotionally neutral toward you, your presence or absence doesn't shift their internal state. But if they are attached, even silently, your distance creates emotional recalibration. And that's the key difference between interest and emotional attachment. At the deepest level, this is not about decoding women. It's about understanding how humans protect vulnerability. When someone says, "I'm fine," it's not always a denial of feeling. Sometimes it's a shield, a pause, a way to stay emotionally safe while still being connected. And here's the truth most men don't hear often enough. Emotional attachment is rarely loud. It doesn't announce itself. It leaks through behavior, timing, memory, and silence. And if you've ever felt confused by someone who seems distant but still present, it's because attachment is not binary. It's layered. She can be emotionally attached and still say, "I'm fine." Because words are the last place emotions arrive, not the first. If this resonated with you, it means you've probably experienced this kind of emotional ambiguity before, where actions and words don't match. The question I want you to think about is this. Have you ever misread emotional distance as lack of interest, when it was actually emotional depth you didn't recognize? Share your experience in the comments. I read them. And in the next video, we're going to break down something even more important. Why women emotionally test men who they actually feel safe with, and what those tests really mean. Because once you understand the psychology behind silence, behavior, and emotional control, you stop guessing and start seeing what was always there.